Hey, Eli here. Today I want to take a little time to show a little love to the Canon R5, my most used camera since 2020. I've got over 450,000 clicks through these things. And yeah, just want to tell you what I like about the Canon R5, what I think the Canon R5 II could improve on, and then just do a menu walkthrough for you so you know how to set this up, from scratch. If you haven't used this camera, of course you can customize it to whatever works for you. I photograph weddings, families, a lot of commercial like magazine work and headshots, and then just some fun landscapes for myself. And then I've obviously photographed my own family with this camera. It's my number one travel camera with the 24 to 70. I've used most all of Canon's lenses with this body, and they've all shined and done great. But yeah, let's start out with what I like about the camera. I love the ergonomics. The camera fits very well in my hand. It fills my hand. I don't need to add a battery grip or anything. Battery life is amazing, so that's not necessary. I own like 8 batteries, and I will never get through more than probably 4 on a wedding day, unless it's really a long wedding day. And yeah, the EVF is wonderful. The back screen is bright. That's one thing I do love about Canon cameras is just very bright screens. They don't have to be the highest res, but when they're bright, working outside, it's very easy. My thumb falls right onto the joystick there, so if I need to move the focus point around, autofocus is wonderful. I know it probably will be improved, but not necessary. And yeah, the only things that I guess that I haven't liked is the on-off switch. That's about it. And, of course, having to release the lens from the opposite side. But I've got that muscle memory, and it's not an issue anymore. And so, yeah, things that I think that could be improved are, I guess, would be the on-off switch will move, I assume, based off what I know with the R6 II, and I own one. So that's what I'm filming on now. But yeah, I think improvements, there's not a whole lot that I would expect. And maybe an autofocus bump with some AI, integration like the Sony has done. So Sony did a great job implementing, body AI. You don't really need the face anymore, but you can capture people moving, and it's pretty incredible. That's something that I would love to see. But like I say, colors are subjective, cameras are subjective. This is what works for me. This is what I've been using. I love it. I've used all manufacturers for the most part. And yeah, I love it. So yeah, other than, maybe the small ergonomics on and off switch and then some AI focus, the back screen, it'd be cool to see that maybe articulate a little differently like the Sony A7 R5. But, if it doesn't happen, it's fine with me too. So yeah, I think that enough said about that. This camera has been incredible for me. I've taken it around the world, I've owned 4 of them. And so yeah, they're incredible. So let's do a menu walkthrough. That way you just kind of have a base to set up your camera if you've just gotten one or you haven't done this before, or just see how I've set it up. So I'm gonna throw on a screen recorder and we'll get going. All right, so I'm gonna show you how I set this camera up from a photographer's perspective, photographing mainly people, a lot of movement and portrait. So here we go. All right, for the first one, we are going to look at image quality. I am photographing image quality in card number 1 is the CF Express Type B, and card number 2 is an SD card. When I first started with this camera, CF Express Type B cards were very expensive. The price has come down, but you're still going to get a lot more bang for your buck when you get an SD card. So I still write my C-RAW, compressed RAW, to my SD card. It's much easier, and then I use my CF Express Type B card to use a JPEG backup. And I'll do that in large JPEG. So this allows me to just pop it in my computer. If I'm traveling, it's much easier. I don't have to bring a CF Express Type B reader. It's more budget friendly, and I have, I think, some V60 cards in here, and that's plenty to keep up with what I need. So I have no buffer issues at all with this camera. So yeah, that's why I have that set up. And if this doesn't populate at the moment, you'll probably see later in the menu we'll add in to write separately the cards so that they are not redundant. It might not give you this option quite yet, so we'll see as we go. All right, dual pixel disable, I don't use that. Crop ratio, I don't really change my crop ratio. Next up, exposure comp, don't need that. ISO speed settings, I'll go in here and I will limit my auto to maximum of 64,000 or 6400. It's just so if I set it to auto, which I rarely do, then I know that it's going to maintain some image quality. So we will press OK there. And I limit this to 100 or 12,800 because that's the maximum I've found that is a usable image for me. And minimum shutter speed I don't change. So next would be, I don't use this setting and I don't use this setting, don't use that. I think I did enable the flicker detection, but I haven't really had issues with that. External speed light control, I think I enabled this, and I did at one point set my set button in the center on the back on the dial to change my speed light for my flash. So I could just change my flash on the camera, which is a little bit easier to do than it is on some flashes, depending on what you're using. Just a little quicker if you're at a wedding. All right, next, white balance. I will go between daylight, Kelvin, maybe 6200, or auto. If I'm in and out of locations, in and out, I'll do auto white balance, indoors and outdoors. And then if I'm in studio, obviously I'm just going to use daylight, like I'm using the light right now. So I'll set to daylight calibration. Custom white balance, I don't use. I did shift my white balance a little bit here. You can see how I shifted it, just because I found, I think for video, it was coming out a little more consistent. So before I was shooting in log formats. Color space, sRGB, easier options. Picture style, I use neutral because I generally will use the profile neutral in Lightroom. So that just a little more synonymous when I'm viewing through the viewfinder. And clarity, change that. Lens aberration correction, didn't change that. It's probably on, and then it's lens dependent. And next will be, I don't mess with any of these. Multiple exposure, if you want to go in, you can enable it, and then you can take some multiple exposure photos. I won't get into that on this menu walkthrough, but those are fun. I don't do it a lot. I'll do it when I'm traveling, having, just messing around. It's not something I do for work. A number of exposures, things like that, you can change all that. Okay, HDR I don't use focus bracketing, and IBIS, high resolution shot, I do not use that. Interval timer I'll use now and again. I like to use like a manual interval timer that has a remote, so I can engage it and disengage it. But here you could set enable, and then you can go in and pick the number of shots you want every second. Yeah, I can do one every second for 60 seconds, and it'll just keep going. So I'm trying to take like a photo on a tripod of my family. That was the only time I'd use that. I don't make time lapses, but that would also work for time lapses. Shutter mode. Electronic first curtain, that's what I put that on. I don't ever use electronic shutter because there's rolling shutter and it's just going to mess your image up. Release shutter without card, I have that off. So I double that, or I have to think about that, but that means it does not release the shutter without the card, because I don't want to take photos without a card. Okay, image stabilization mode is just always on. Image review I turn off. That's very annoying when you see an image right after, using EVFs. That's not fun. If it was a DSLR, it wouldn't matter. High speed display I don't use this. Exposure simulation, I'm like 99% positive that would be like if you wanted to look through like an SLR, if you're using strobes in a studio, you would go disable that, and then you would see real time through your screen. Shooting info display, you can get really deep into this menu and change things, like if you don't want certain displays, you can take options on and off. That would probably just be a whole nother video. But, you can play with that to your heart's content, or you can just leave it. It's probably fine. Brightness, it's all something I just leave default. Display formats, viewfinder, you can change that as well. And display performance, what do I have that set as? I don't even know if I ever changed it. Power saving and smooth, yeah, so trying to save my battery. All right, next would be autofocus. I always put it on servo. One shot I don't use. Yeah, just be like if you, I guess, we want to be really consistent with one focus point without movement. These I will change throughout. I generally will use the one that you're seeing now, unless I need to widen it up for some scene, but generally this is where I'll keep it. It's a good enough size, and then I can move it around as much as I want. Subject detect is people. Continuous AF, I don't want it to be focusing without me pressing anything. That's just going to drain my battery, and it's going to be annoying. And so, yeah. Touch drag, AF settings, I guess I have it like that. I don't use that, yeah. That would be like if you wanted to use, I think, the back screen to move around, which if you didn't have a joystick, I think that's what that's for. All right, manual focus peak settings. I really use manual focus maybe for some ring shots, but here I would have it on peaking on, low for level, and red, but you can pick the color you want. Focus guide on. Those are just going to show little triangle things that align to let you know that your focus point is in focus. Not really necessary. You can always zoom. This is on AF beam firing. I think that's probably for a flash. Case 2, I just leave it there. I don't even think I changed it. I don't know what default is, but that's what it's on. And yeah, these release priority. I don't know if I even messed with anything in here. I don't think I did. Switch tracking subjects, just I think one is default. Lens drive, when possible, is on. Limit AF methods. If you just knew you weren't going to use any, you could eliminate some. So if you're changing through them, you go through them faster when you're changing focus points. AF method selection control, I have on this manual function button on the front and the main dial. So I don't know how important. I don't know if I changed that or if it was just default. We'll get into custom buttons later. Orientation, you can have it vertical and horizontal if you really want it to change when you go vertical or horizontal. That's an option. Next is initial point. I think you have to change this one for some reason. I don't remember why. Maybe so you get a single point focus. You can press info if you want more information. You can read about it here. Okay, and then focus ring. Yeah, I didn't reverse it. Sensitivity I did not change for that. I did change the sensitivity for the joystick on the back because I am very impatient. Electronic, that's one thing that annoys me about Fuji. Just a little interjection here. Fuji's little joystick thing is very slow. And so I love and appreciate how fast this one is. Electronic full-time autofocus. Don't leave that on. Oops. Next would be, I don't think I'd change anything in here. Yeah, there's maybe just jump images by 10, and you can change the magnification to 10 times. But this is what it's on, and it works for me. And didn't, yeah, you could change the playback information if you wanted. So, but I don't change that. Don't change any of these. But feel free to. Airplane mode, always keep that on unless you're trying to use the Bluetooth or Wi-Fi because it will drain your battery almost twice as fast. So that's something I learned very early on. Okay, here we go. We got record separately for photo video, or yeah, so photo video I don't record separately. Okay, so for photo, yes, I record separately here. So that means that one card is going to get a different file. And then record options, standard. You can have playback. I want to play back the JPEG. Yeah, or the RAW. Doesn't matter. I think it matters. And then record play for video. Video you want to record to the CF Express Type B card so you can get faster readouts or write speeds. File name numbering is just continuous. File name, I've just named this R5A, and then I have R5B. So, and then there's where you format your cards. Auto rotate is on, so I think if you take a portrait or horizontal landscape, it will know in the computer. And date and time are here. Language, I changed this to Dutch yesterday accidentally somehow. I don't know how I did it, but fortunately I have two cameras because I don't speak Dutch or read Dutch. I was able to look on the other camera, find the menu. You can always Google it, but yeah, pretty funny. Video, I didn't change this. Small text, I didn't change that. Beep, disable the beep, super annoying. Headphone volume, you can change that on the quick menu. Power saving, I have to these settings, display off, mainly because I was doing video. So if I was just doing photo, I'd probably put this at like 3 minutes. Auto off, 1 minute. And viewfinder off, but I'm going to change these back so this thing doesn't turn off. Just go 30 and 10. So I would keep these all about a minute, unless I'm doing a demonstration. Eco mode I keep on as well, but when I'm doing video or demonstration, I want to turn this off. This will just save your battery, and you just got to press a button. It'll wake your screen back up real quick. All right. Viewfinder display. Yeah, I don't mess with any of this. Screen brightness didn't mess with any of this. None of this has been messed with. Did not mess with this. I usually disable touch because I will bump something somehow and change a setting from raw to raw JPEG, whatever. It'll happen. So yeah. All right, multifunction. Oh, here we go. Multifunction lock. When you lock the multifunction deal, there's a button. You can pick what it locks. It won't lock your touch screen in some settings. It will in others. So don't rely too much on this for the touch. So, and shutter shutdown. You can have it close or open. Yeah, sorry. Here we go. Yeah, you can have it stay open or close. I found that it is slightly faster if you just leave the shutter up or open all the time. If you're really worried about dust, you can have it close. Like if you're not wanting your camera to wake up as fast. But I found it like half a second faster, maybe, or second faster to turn on. So, because it doesn't have to open that shutter. And then sensor cleaning, I just have it, clean at power off. So you can go clean it now. Reset camera, don't use that. Custom modes, I don't use custom modes just because I just don't. You have to push a button and then change to it. And it's just, I mean, you could use it if like you wanted to disable your IBIS for like a long exposure. That would probably be the only reason I would use it. And then save and load cards, settings on camera settings on card. So battery info, you can check your battery info and just see what your battery health is. Shutter count performance. That doesn't show battery health. Okay, this shows remaining. Copyright information, don't use that. Manual, don't use that. You can check your firmware here. And then exposure level increments, didn't change any of this here. Number of brackets shot, didn't change any of that. Yeah, didn't change any of this. Okay. I didn't change these. Dials will do that first. So you can see here what I have the dial set to. This AV with a down arrow indicates that you have to half press the shutter to change your aperture. So if you're worried about bumping your aperture on the lens or any settings, you can just pick the one with the arrow and that will prevent it from moving unless you press the shutter. All right, good stuff. Just gonna go through photo, video, not gonna go through that. All right, so obviously AF is on the shutter. If you're worried about, some people will use back button AF, but I don't. But in the past I did before AF got so advanced. This is just a quick video record. I actually just have been experimenting with this. This would generally change my frame rate for photos. Yeah, how many times it takes a photo every second. Mode, you could change that because I don't change modes other than go into video, so I don't know. This is AF IAF, so this engages the eyes. So if I'm taking a photo, I have my focus point, and then if I want to just go to eyes, not think about it, it'll just track the eye. And yeah, it's very, very convenient and has been one of the most useful features that Canon has implemented with this particular camera. Or, the mirrorless. All right, so this one here just disables. I don't find these two buttons to be different enough for my thumb to identify on the fly. So I just have these disable autofocus, and that is mainly for panoramics. So if I'm gonna take a Bernizer method or a panoramic, I just hold that button down, disengages the AF on the shutter, and then I can do a panoramic and then go back to work. So here this will zoom in. So if I'm trying to zoom in on a manual focus image, it will punch in, and then I can see better if I'm in focus or not. And if I remember right, I think if I press that multiple times, it will zoom in more, I think 3 times. This one here, I don't even know if I have a lens with a button on it, so I don't think it matters. This one here is fun, so I'm gonna come back to that one. All right, this one here, illumination. The set button actually isn't set to anything right now. I should set that to either had it at crop or flash. I'm gonna change it now, actually. We'll go to the flash. Here we go. So now if I have a flash on, that allows me to change the power of the flash, which is super awesome. This here, you just want to turn on, basically. All right, so let's go back to this one. This one's confusing. So if we press OK, now we need to, if I want it to be dial function, if I press info, this allows me to enable or disable different options. All I've enabled is my AF method. And so all it does is this particular one. So if I go here, I press it, and I use my dials, it's going to change my AF method. If you have all of these engaged, let's go back. Nope, back to here, sorry. So if we have, press info, it's a little complicated. All of these engaged, you're going to have to go through each one on that menu system that I just showed you. So I just use one, it's super easy, and yeah. So let's go back to one thing I should change back before I get to work today, is this one here. I would change to my frame rate or drive mode. Yeah, so if I press this now, nope, not that one, this one, this is gonna be how many frames per second I'm, shooting at, or a timer. So yeah, that is basically how I set up all those custom buttons, and that is probably the most important part of this video. So, all right, add cropping information. Don't use any of this stuff. Don't use that, and I don't use a menu tab. So, and then this is how I set up my Q button. I don't remember where that is in the menu, to be honest, but I think with the newer cameras, you can eliminate things. Like I would eliminate resolution on the R6 II, and I'm assuming you'll be able to do that with R5 too. So R5 version 2, that is. So yeah, this is my little, quick video before this camera gets replaced. Rumors are out that probably in the next month or so, we'll see a new version, and pretty exciting. I will definitely pre-order it. And, I don't think that camera is necessarily a need for a lot of people. This camera is incredible, and I think it's going to be incredible for years to come. And it's been just getting cheaper and cheaper, which is awesome. So more budget friendly, and I think it's just, like I said, photo and video, it's just going to continue to shine throughout the years. So even if a new one comes out. So yeah, if you're trying to decide between the, R5, R6, R6 II, I think I would just go off your budget. They're all incredible. The R6 II has some advancements that are pretty great, and 24 megapixels is probably plenty for most folks. You can up-res things now. I do like the way that the R5 does edit, but yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm gonna end this video, and hopefully it's helpful. I know the R6 II video was helpful. So have a great one, and I'm gonna head to work. Today I'm going to photograph some food, so hopefully it's delicious. We'll see. Have a good one.